Hi, welcome back. These are the books that I want to read this autumn. And with that, welcome to autumn. It's finally that time of the year. I'm the happiest I could ever be. It's raining, it's dark and moody. It's time to get cozy, sit in the comfiest chair, in the comfiest clothes, maybe in your bed, whatever, but cuddled into a blanket, a tea, a hot chocolate by your side, some dramatic classical music in the back, and a good book in hand. What I wanted to share with you today, which is my autumn to be read, my autumn to be the books I want to read this autumn. If you couldn't tell, most of these books are going to be from the shelf behind me, and I haven't gotten them out yet because I wanted the shelf to be in all of its glory. Before we begin, please let me know what books you want to read this autumn. If there are any books that I absolutely have to read, also let me know. If you've read any of these, let me know. And generally, commenting is the most support you could give me, and I would really appreciate it. And also, thank you for subscribing. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. And with that, let's start talking about books, shall we? Let's start with these three books. If you should know anything about me, I love autumn, I love Halloween, I love anything surrounding witches and vampires and dark academia. So most of these books will be that. Either a book about witches or books with a gothic setting, books with vampires. That's just for your knowledge. This is what you're getting yourself into. Maybe I'll put some classics in here. I haven't really made up my mind which books I'm including and how many I'm including. Now, the first book is a book I very recently got from one of my friends because she didn't want it anymore or didn't need it anymore. I'm going to separate these into a bit of categories, and the first category is going to be witches because these are all from my witchy shelf. And this one is Now She's Witch by Kirsty Logan. And I've had this book on my wishlist forever. I think ever since I started getting into reading, because just mainly because I've always been into witches. Oh my god, I'm kind of matching with this one. Cute. Wanted to read this for a long time, and I'm going to do that now. Let's find out what it's about together. This is a witch story unlike any other. Lux has lost everything when Else finds her alone in the woods. Her family, her lover, her home, all burned. The world is suspicious of women like her, but Lux is cunning. She knows how to blend into the background. And she knows a lot about poisons. Else needs Lux's help to destroy the man who wronged her. But on their hunt, they will uncover dark secrets that entangle them with dangerous adversaries. From the snowy winter woods to the bright midnight sun, from lost and powerless to finding your path. Now She's Witch conjures a world where women grasp at power through witchcraft, sexuality, and performance, and sometimes by throwing each other to the wolves. Now, just reading this and also judging, I'm going to keep this for the later autumnal months, so maybe after Halloween, November. I think that's when I shall read this. I'm really excited, and also I think I've mentioned this in the last three videos, but I can't stop thinking about it. I will be in Edinburgh in a few weeks, and I'll be picking up a lot of books there probably. So I might have to do another autumnal TBR. Let's hope I even read any of these. Because I've talked about this in my monthly wrap up, but I have not been reading as much as I would like to, which. Sorry to myself, not to you. You probably don't care. The next witchy book on this list is The Year of the Witching by Alexis Henderson. This is the other one. Always been on my radar, just never picked it up, and now I finally have, and I also cannot wait to read this one. Let me tell you what it's about. Born on the fringes of Bethel, Emmanuel does her best to obey the church and follow holy protocol. For it was in Bethel that the first prophet pursued and killed 4 powerful witches, and so cleansed the land. And then, a chance encounter lures her into the dark wood that surrounds Bethel. It is a forbidden place, haunted by the spirits of the witches who bestow an extraordinary gift on Emmanuel, the diary of her dead mother. Fascinated by and fearful of the secrets the diary reveals, Emmanuel begins to understand the truth about her own upbringing, the prophets, and their history. For the real threat to Bethel is its own darkness. It must change. And that change will begin with her. That's the Year of the Witching. Last autumn, for example, I read Slewfoot, and that's so far my favorite witchy book I've ever read. The eerie and creepy and gothic and vampire, obviously, vibes were fascinatingly beautifully, and I'm still thinking about that book so much, and I might even have to reread it. And yeah, so I'm really excited to read this witch's book, and I have one more of the witchy sort. The next book is also, like I said, a witchy book, but this one I actually got from my best friend, and I was surprisingly shocked at the fact that I've heard of this book, but I've never, like, I didn't have it on my wish list or anything. She just knows me that well, so she got me this book. And this book is The Gilda Stories, the mortal cult classic by Joelle Gomez, and cannot wait to read this one. It sounds so good. And now that I have it actually with me, I've heard more people talk about it. I think technically this belongs on my classic shelf, but it felt wrong to not put it with my witchy books. The night hides many things. Louisiana, 1850. A young girl escapes slavery and is taken in by two women. Rumored to be witches, the pair travel only at night and seem to know others' innermost thoughts. But the girl sees the promise of true freedom in her eyes, the promise to share the blood and live forever. They name her Gilda. Over the next 200 years, Gilda moves through brothels, gold rush bars, black women's suffrage groups, hair salons, and jazz clubs, searching for a way to exist in the world. Can Gilda truly outrun the darkness of history? This might just have to be my next read. I'm obsessed with it. And like I said, I love classics, and this is from the 90s. And I cannot wait to read it because this sounds great. And like I said, I heard so many good reviews and cannot wait to read it on my own. Yeah, I'm going to have to deassemble my entire vampire shelf now. Yay. So the aftermath of that is going to haunt me later. But for now, let's talk about some more books. I'm starting to notice, maybe even for the next category as well, I've been picking 3 for every category. Mostly because the rest of the shelf has already been read, but also mostly because, no, actually that's the only reason. The next book I've recently talked about in a haul, because I bought this in Amsterdam, so if you want to see that haul, it's the autumnal Halloween Gothic horror book haul slash clothing haul, big haul. Anyway, and it's Thirst by Marina Yusuchu. This is translated from Argentina by Heather Cleary, and this is what the book's about. Very obviously, the next 3 books are going to be about vampires. In the 19th century, a vampire arrives from Europe to the coast of Buenos Aires. On the run from the church, she must adapt, intermingle with humans, and, most importantly, be discreet. In present-day Buenos Aires, a woman finds herself at an impasse as she grapples with her mother's terminal illness and her own relationship with motherhood. When she first encounters the vampire in a cemetery, something ignites within the two women, and they cross a threshold from which there's no turning back. A breakout genre-blurring novel from one of the most exciting new voices of Latin America's feminist Gothic. So far, this and the Gilda Stories seems like the next move because it's like autumn, but it's not as moody as I wanted yet. So these might be a good transitional period book. We will see. Still need to do the thumbnail, so I'm putting all of the books aside and not directly putting them back in because that would be way too exhausting. And the next book is also from my best friend, and this one I've never heard of. I do not know how she found this, but again, hit it on the nose with my taste. It's incredible. I love her. This is Gwendoline Christie's Reluctant Mortals. Again, vampires. And this one is actually inspired by classic literature, which my best friend didn't even know. She looked for these books, like she told me, I think she just wrote like Gothic, Vampire, or something like that. And she also knows that I love classics, but she didn't know that this is inspired by Jane Eyre and Dracula, which is like my favorite book ever. And it follows 2 of those female forgotten stories in both of those books. Let me read you what it says. Los Angeles, 1967. Lucy Westenra and Bertha Mason, the forgotten woman in Dracula and Jane Eyre, have been existing as undead mortals for centuries, unable to die, and still tormented by the monsters that made them. Lucy has long fought against Dracula's intoxicating thrall, refusing his charismatic darkness in her ensuing appetite for blood. Bertha Mason, the madwoman in the attic, is still pursued from afar by Mr. Rochester. who wants to add her to his collection of devoted female followers. Then, Dracula and Rochester make a shocking return in San Francisco. To finally write their own futures, Lucy and Bertha must boldly reclaim their stories from the men who tried to erase them in this harrowing gothic tale of love, betrayal, and coercion. I'm kind of not a big fan of the cover happening, but I guess it is set in the 70s, so it makes sense. But this color looks awful next to all of my other vampire books, which are mostly dark. I'm so fucking excited about and cannot believe I haven't started it yet. But it's heavy. It's not heavy, it's big, so that's why I haven't started it. But I also talked about this in my last haul, but I'll talk about it gladly again to you, and it's Lucy Undying by Kirsten White, which, surprisingly enough, is about the same Lucy as the one I just mentioned for Reluctant Immortals, which my best friend also didn't know about, but she's just that brilliant. And this is a Sapphic retelling, which me and Sapphic vampire retellings, hell yeah, sign me up. A Diary of Blood, Lucy Undying, exactly. Her name was written in the pages of someone else's story. Lucy Westenra was one of Dracula's first victims. But her death was only the beginning. Lucy rose from the grave a vampire and has spent her immortal life trying to escape from Dracula's clutches and trying to discover who she really is and what she truly wants. Her undead life takes an unexpected turn when, in 21st century London, she meets another woman who's also yearning to break free from her past. Iris's family has built a health empire based on a sinister secret, and they'll do anything to stay in power. Lucy has long believed she would never love again, but she finds herself compelled by the charming Iris, while Iris is mesmerized by the confident and glamorous Lucy. But their intense connection and blossoming love is threatened by forces from without. Iris's mother won't let go of her without a fight, and Lucy's past still has fangs. Dracula is on the prowl again. Lucy Westenra has been a tragically murdered teen, a lonesome adventurer, and a fearsome hunter. But happiness always eluded her. Can she find the strength to destroy Dracula once and for all? Or will her heart once again be her undoing? Exactly. Cannot wait to read this goddamn book. I think we should be fine taking out the next books. Okay, I've prepared the next few books. And surprisingly enough, my Dark Academia shelf didn't have that much to offer, which might mean that I have to buy some new books. But no. The first one in this sort of category, I don't even know if it's Dark Academia. I know it's like eerie, because I like saw a vibe TikTok, but that's the only thing I know. But I do really want to read this book now. So this is Looking Glass Sound by Catriona Ward. I honestly can't remember what this is about. I bought this because I liked the cover, and then I read the back and I really wanted it, so I bought it. But it's been a while since I got this, which is one of the reasons I want to read it now. Writers are monsters. We eat everything we see. In a windswept cottage overlooking the sea, Wilder Harlow begins the last book he will ever write. It is the story of his childhood companions and the shadowy figures of the daggerman who stalked the New England town. And it is the story of Skye, Wilder's one-time friend who stole his unfinished memoir to turn into a lurid best-selling novel, then died without ever explaining why. This book is Wilder's last chance for revenge. But as he writes, he begins to find notes written in Skye's signature green ink, and events in his manuscript start to chime eerily with the present. Is Skye haunting him? And who is the dark-haired woman drowning in the cove, whom no one else can see? With his grip on reality slipping, Wilder begins to fear that this will not only be his last book, but the last thing he ever does. And just reading that reminded me of why I originally even picked this up, because it sounds so fascinating. And I definitely don't think this is Dark Academia, but it's dark. It's definitely dark and twisted and mysterious, so cannot wait to read that as well. And the next book, to no one's surprise, might be my next read if I get my shit together and lock in to read this, because I think I must do that, which I'm gladly to do so. And this is truly a Dark Academia book, and literally not surprising at all. It's Catabasis by Arf Kwang. Love love Arf Kwang so much. If you're interested in seeing other content surrounding her, I have a whole The Poppy War series reading vlog on my channel, which I like maybe was a year ago, maybe a year ago. Um, absolutely loved those books, and before that, I already had read Babel and Yellowface and adored them, and that's why I read Poppy War. And now we finally have her newest book, Catabasis, in my hands. As a huge Alice in Wonderland girly and Greek mythology, and all of the other millions things I've seen be in this book, I'm so fucking excited. This is what it's about. Grad student Alice Law has only ever had one goal: to become the brightest mind in the field of analytic magic. But the only person who can make her dream come true is dead and, inconveniently, in hell. And Alice, along with her biggest rival Peter Murdoch, is going after him. But hell is not as the philosophers claim. Its rules are upside down, and if she's going to get out of there alive, she and Peter will have to work together. That's if they can agree on anything. Will they triumph or kill each other trying? She's a genius. One thing I do have to say though, I love this copy. First of all, I'm not a big fan of hardback, so that's why I got the paperback version. I love the cover to death. There's like another version. I'm not sure what's on it, but I like this one more, just based on the colors and the design. And while this is not going to be noticeable because I will be breaking the spine and absolutely ripping this book apart, it's weirdly like it's almost as if the glue wasn't good enough or wasn't spread. But it's whatever. I think Catabasis looks so pretty next to Babel. They really make each other look gorgeous. And yeah, I also really like, why am I keep talking about Catabasis? I don't know. But I really like that it's matte and it has a nice feel to it. So okay, we have a few more books to go, and all of these books are actually classics, which, thank the Lord. I think there's like a few more classics on my bookshelf that I'm potentially wanting to read. But these are enough books. We have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Which I read 2 books this summer, so we'll see how that goes. But usually I read this much. The first book, I'm really scared to admit that I haven't read it yet because it's very much up my alley, and it's like my taste in classics is this book, and it's like one of the most well-known books in that genre. But I've been really slacking on reading classics, which I'm really sad about because it's basically how I started getting into reading again. And I also have this beautiful copy. And before I tell you what book it is, I did once start reading this book. The problem is that my bookmark got lost, and now I don't know where I left off, and it's also been way too long, so I need to restart it, which is no problem. And it's Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. And also, if you've seen the trailer and the outrage that people who've read this book are feeling about the movie, I absolutely must read this book. Even before the adaptation was ever announced, I knew I needed to read this book. But now, I need a reason to hate even more, you know? But now, I've seen like some interpretations of the trailer, which could be kind of cool, but based on, I know a lot of things about this book, based on what I know, my expectations were never high, starting with the casting alone. Anyway, I have this beautiful fucking copy. It's by the Sirius publication, and I need more of these books. I think if I were ever to start collecting classics by one certain publisher, it would be this one. Just I think they're so pretty and fit my aesthetic very nicely. I'm pretty sure there's no summary of the book in here. If you want to know what Wuthering Heights is about, give it a Google, because the things I know are mostly spoilers, so I don't think I should be giving you one. But just know that this is the mother of Gothic literature, so if you didn't know already. I think out of the classics, this is the one that I most desperately want to read. And also it's like so pretty and it's so nice to hold, and it's a very well travel sized. And also, it's obviously gold foiled, gold edges, I don't know. But also the paper quality, it's crazy to compare this, but the paper feels like Bible paper. And if you know, you know. Also smells great. And then we have 2 more. And the first one actually somehow goes along with Catabasis. I'm excited and nervous to read it because I haven't read many. I picked this up in, what are they called? A free little library around the time that Catabasis was announced, but before people were recommending people to read this book in advance of Catabasis, if you get what I mean. I picked it up because I've always wanted to read it, and then people were saying, "Oh my god, you must read this before reading Catabasis," and I still haven't read it. So it's Dante's Inferno. My version is translated by John Serardi. One of the great masterpieces of all time, Dante's Inferno, now newly translated by John Ciardi for the modern reader, is the magnificent story of a man's way through the infinite torment of hell in his search of paradise. And it's very obvious why this is connected to Catabasis, because it's a journey through hell. Here is another short summary I can give you. The Inferno describes Dante's visit to the lower realms of the next world. He passes through the giant gates with their prophetic inscription, "Abandon all hope, ye who enter here," to the 9 circles of hell, where anguished men and women expiate earthly sins of lust and greed, malice and betrayal, and varying degrees of torment. We will see when I get to this, but I do really hope I read it this year. But I also said that about my summer TBR, and I didn't. Not this book, but the other books. And the last book of this video is a very special one, because if you should know anything about me, I'm a huge musical fan. And one of my favorites is none other than The Phantom of the Opera by Gaston Leroux. And while I could give you my summary of it, I won't. Just, first of all, because I'm lazy, and second of all, I'm not sure how to, because there's so many things to talk about. I got this wonderful copy by one of my friends, and I really love this edition. And because I might be finally seeing it live with my own eyes in February, I must read it before then. So I'm gonna hold myself accountable until February. Young and beautiful, Christine Day's innate singing ability is nurtured by the mysterious ghost that haunts the Paris Opera House. But when her performance success catches the eye of her childhood sweetheart, Viscount Raoul, the jealous phantom becomes violent, proving love can be deadly. The inspiration for the Tony Award-winning Broadway musical of the same name, Gaston Leroux's The Phantom of the Opera, is a timeless Gothic classic. So that's The Phantom of the Opera. And if you couldn't tell, these are all mostly Gothic. I'm sure there are many other books that I could have mentioned. I want to catch up on my Edgar Allan Poe reading, which I've wanted to do for a long time. More of the Bronte sisters. I have like a few horror classic collections, some of H.P. Lovecraft, more Edgar Allan Poe. I also want to read Shakespeare. I have a lovely, beautiful collection of Shakespeare books that I need to get through, because I've only read Romeo and Juliet, and I've reread Equivalence multiple of times, so I know what Shakespeare is all about, and Hamlet. But exactly, before the movie adaptation of Hamlet comes out, I want to read at least one of Shakespeare's plays. That's also going to be happening this autumn, and also maybe Dr. Jekyll and Hyde. And I also have been thinking about rereading Frankenstein, and possibly also Dracula, but Frankenstein more importantly because I love Frankenstein and because it needs to be reread yearly. I think that's mostly it. From the books I have, there are like multiple 80% of my wish list on all platforms that I could have a wish list on are autumnal themed books. But I think that's it. I also kind of want to reread The Secret History. We'll see if I get to that, but I do really want to do it. I love it. I love that book. I think that's it. Like I said in the beginning, if you read any of these, please let me know which one I should prioritize, but tell me which ones you really liked. And if you have any additions to this list, please also let me know. I love hearing your guys' recommendations, and I always write them down and take them to heart. I'll keep you updated if I read any of these. Look out for my monthly wrap-ups. They'll be in there, as well as my reviews. And happy autumn. I hope you're just as cozy as I am right now, and see you in the next one. Bye bye.